Good morning, everyone. Okay. So growing up, I've imagined so much of what my future would look like. And I got to tell you, I've never imagined that I would be standing here in Bayview Hunters Point, San Francisco, in the presence of an amazing community of respected city officials and leaders. I am honored. Yeah, definitely. My name is Tammy Vaitai, and I grew up in Southern California with 3 siblings and a mother who ended up raising us on her own. When I was in 6th grade, we were evicted from our home, and that was a very significant moment in my life. When you watch a mother face defeat and humiliation on a daily basis, it toughens your skin while at the same time teaches you humility and patience. It changes you, for sure. Through these trials and tribulations, I was fortunate enough to discover an outlet that helped me to get by. Throughout high school, I pursued my passion for writing and performance through spoken word. My junior year of high school, my mom moved to Palo Alto for a job where she was able to save up enough money to get us out here too, and I realized that moving up here was a starting point to my future and continued success. I was 17 and new to the Bay Area, and thankfully I crossed paths with Old School Cafe, a nonprofit youth-run supper club right here in the Bayview. Old School Cafe offered me a stage to perform on, an audience to perform to, and a job to perform at. At such a young age, I never anticipated the amount of support, opportunities, resources, and investments that I would soon encounter. The momentum only continued to pick up, and within the next couple years, I was promoted to leadership. The following year, through hard work, I was able to be in a position making a very comfortable salary at the age of 21. The year after, I saved up enough money to pay in full for my very first car. Today, I'm currently in the process of becoming a homeowner in the same neighborhood where I work. And I definitely, thank you. I went from having absolutely no history or knowledge of credit to meeting up regularly with youth to teach them everything I wished I knew at their age about the impact of your credit score. I am the youth development and restaurant manager of what has become one of the best restaurants in San Francisco. I am also a facilitator with Youth Speaks, a leading nonprofit presenter of spoken word education, youth development, and presentation programs where I teach high school students how to identify their voice and story through poetry. When I received the phone call of this wonderful opportunity, I asked myself, what do you say when you get a chance like this? Every day before I pull into Bayview Opera House lot and park my car, walk through Mendel Plaza and unlock the doors to Old School Cafe, I ask myself today, what will I say and do with a chance like this? With 12 youth anxiously looking to me for guidance, knowledge, and advice, I promise myself every time, I will take each opportunity and I will do my best. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, whether you are the hardworking engineer at Google, the busboy at Lamone's Rotisserie, a police officer in the Tenderloin, or simply a loyal fan to the best team in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers, yeah, right? Every moment is an opportunity to either pave the way or shut the door for the person behind you. It is a privilege to be a resident in such a unique, diverse city, paving the way with all of you for those generations to come. Thank you so much. And without further adu, ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in welcoming a highly respected figure who has helped me to change the outcome of my future, the person who plays a huge role in the success of this great city, our Honorable Mayor Edwin M.
That was not for the cameras. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tammy, for that wonderful introduction. You know, your personal journey from eviction and hardship to managing the Old School Cafe, and now on your way to owning your own home right here in the Bayview. That's truly an inspiration. So I'm honored you could join us this morning. And greetings, President Chu, Supervisor Cohn, whose district we're here today, and greetings, of course, to all the members of our Board of Supervisors, as well as to many city commissioners, department heads, elected officials, and of course, all of our honored guests. And a special thank you to Kofi Bonner, Lennar Urban. Thank you for being here today. And all of our hard-working men and women of Robert Obayashi for welcoming us to this morning onto your job site. You know, I wanted to come here and talk to you about the state of the city because this place, the Shipyard, links our proud past to an even more promising future. Behind me, hundreds and soon thousands of new homes for middle-class families are under construction. And like Tammy's personal story, the shipyards represent both the remarkable progress we've made as a city, recovering from the depths of the Great Recession these past 3 years. It also represents the challenges that San Francisco is still a place for where working families, our teachers, our firefighters, our artists, and their seniors can always call home. You know, a year ago, we gathered not too far from here, and I declared the state of our city to be vital, resurgent, and strong, with San Francisco moving in the right direction. And throughout 2013, because of our relentless focus on jobs, fixed on a steady path of fiscal prudence, and through the extraordinary innovation of our people, our robust economic recovery continued. Last year, San Francisco was the nation's #1 large county for job growth, adding jobs in every sector. Yes. From technology to healthcare to construction and manufacturing. And unemployment today stands at just 5.2%, down from 9.5% when I first took office. My fellow San Franciscans, that means 42,452 jobs were created since 2011, and residents are back to work in our city. And as a result of our broad-based recovery, healthy budget reserves, and fiscal discipline, our city's credit rating is the highest in history. And at the dawn of this new year, 2014, the state of our great city is still vital and strong. Indeed, strong financially and economically as it never has been in our history. And we must also recognize that there are still fractures in this strong foundation that we've built, tears in the social fabric that if we do not attend to with all of our energies, that'll erode that foundation and reverse our dramatic progress. Jobs and confidence are back, but our economic recovery has still left thousands behind. Our neighborhoods are revitalized and new construction is all around us, but some still look to the future anxiously and wonder whether there's room for them in changing San Francisco. And too many of our residents, people who work hard and make a decent wage, men and women squarely in the middle class, grow frustrated as the city becomes ever more expensive and their dream of starting a family or owning a home falls further out of reach. The rising cost of living, the financial squeeze on our city's working families and middle class, these are the fundamental challenges of our time, not just for our city, but for great cities around the world. And to sustain our economic recovery and this renewed confidence in our city, we must confront these challenges of affordability directly, in a San Francisco way, big-hearted and clear-minded. You know, in the Chinese zodiac, this is the year of the horse. You know, a person born in the year of the horse tends towards strength, confidence, financial success. But they are also among the most compassionate, attentive to the troubles of others, quick to protect those who cannot fight for themselves. Well, appropriately, these are exactly the qualities the city demands in 2014 to meet the challenges before us. because it is that same economic strength, that same renewed confidence in our future that provides us with the resources and the resolve to do so. My fellow San Franciscans, this is the affordability agenda that I bring to you today as our priority for the year ahead. And that affordability agenda still starts with making sure every one of our residents, whether young or old, from the west side or the southeast, or whether a new immigrant or a returning veteran, has a good job or can access the skills and training to get one. You know, there's no wider income gap than between those who have a job and those who don't. And while our economic recovery is the envy of the world, there are still more than 24,000 of our fellow San Franciscans out of work, with perhaps twice that underemployed, in need of training for better opportunities. And that's why we must never relent on our efforts to grow jobs in our city across every sector: technology, biotech, clean tech, international trade and tourism, film and video production, advanced manufacturing, construction, healthcare, all growing parts of our diverse economy, creating good-paying jobs for people of every background. Now, I don't know about you, but I haven't forgotten the recent days of double-digit unemployment, endless red ink, and deep cuts to our vital services. But incredibly, it's become fashionable for some lately to dismiss the significance of our broad-based recovery. They speak of it, remarkably, only in terms of the negative. Perhaps the first time in history that the creation of too many good jobs has been criticized. You know, my friends, we must not take these better times for granted. And you know, I speak frequently to other mayors, and believe me when I tell you, there is not a city on the planet that would refuse to trade places with our robust economic condition right now. And all this comes in spite of the outright harm imposed upon thousands of our own residents by politicians in Washington, where Republicans in Congress refused to pass comprehensive immigration reform and stymied efforts to extend unemployment insurance for the long-term jobless. I say, shame on them. And that's why, more than ever, we here in San Francisco must and will continue to invest in workforce training and in people like Iman Rodney, who is here with us today. You know, Iman is from Bayview, and he recently completed our Tech SF training at Baycat. And now he's working as a production assistant on HBO's new show, Looking, set right here in San Francisco. Iman, please stand. All right. Thank you, Iman. We're looking forward to seeing your work premiere this Sunday. We're investing in people like Mark Roth. Where's Mark? Right here, Mark. Thank you, Mark, for being here. You know, 2 years ago, Mark was homeless, sleeping in shelters. He had some programming experience, but not enough to land a job. So he plunked down the last of his money to take a few advanced classes at Tech Shop. And this started his own business, a business called SF Laser. Mark, thank you and congratulations on your success and your commitment to helping others as well. Thank you for bringing your son here too. But while the tech sector is growing, it's just a piece of our diverse economy. And that's why we'll keep investing in people like Daryl Bishop and Lorenzo Beasley, two young men from the Bayview who work right here at the Shipyard. And behind me, Astron Development Corporation is building the framing for new housing, maintaining a 65% local hire rate. I know Supervisor Avalos likes the sound of that. With most of the men and women coming through our City Build Construction Academy, folks like Andre Larimore, who also is here with us today. Gentlemen, please stand. Let's all give them a hand for their great work. And folks, You know, those cranes you see downtown in Mission Bay and in Central Market don't just mean thousands of good construction jobs. They also mean hundreds of millions of dollars in development impact fees. Over the next 5 years, we will collect $110 million from big developers for new parks, better public transit, and new affordable housing. And we know that our young people suffer from unemployment at a far higher rate than adults. And so I'm proud that in 2013, our Summer Jobs Plus initiative provided more than 6,800 summer job opportunities in the public and private sector. Thank you, Eric. More than half of the youth placed were from underserved neighborhoods like the Bayview and Western Addition. And we'll continue to invest in the cornerstones of our diverse economy, our infrastructure. The 5 hospitals under construction in our city today will cement the city's standing as a cutting-edge center for quality health care in this new era of digital health and national universal health care. They'll guarantee good jobs in our healthcare sectors for decades to come. Jobs for people like Kaya Lewis, who's here this morning with us, who graduated from our healthcare academy and who now works for UCSF. Good morning, Kaya. And in the city that will always rely a great deal on tourism, hospitality, and entertainment, it's critical that we continue to make improvements to our international airport, support the major expansion of our Moscone Convention Center, so we can compete once again for the world's biggest conventions and trade shows. We will continue to support the improvement and expansion of our arts, our cultural institutions like the rebuild of the Opera House, the new Mexican Museum, the new wing of the SF MoMA, and if the members of the Board of Trustees agree, a wonderful new museum in the Presidio for George Lucas's unique American art and cultural collection. In 2016, we'll host Super Bowl 50. Thank you, Daniel Laurie and our Super Bowl host committee for putting together a winning bid. And in 2017, we'll bring back America's Cup, applying the valuable and sometimes hard lessons we learned last year for an even more spectacular focused series of sailboat racing on our bay. Congratulations, Larry Ellison, Russell Coots, and the Oracle Team USA for that amazing come-from-behind victory. And yes, we will work with the Golden State Warriors to bring them back home to San Francisco. A spectacular new basketball and entertainment pavilion right on our waterfront. Thank you to Peter Guber and Joe Lacob and the Warriors ownership for your investment in our city's future. I know Rick Welch is here today, and Rick, we're all behind you for another exciting playoff run this season. Thank you. Well, we'll continue to invest in our neighborhoods, targeting our resources first within our 25 Invest in Neighborhood commercial corridors throughout the city, places like Geary Boulevard in Supervisor Morris' district, 3rd Street in Supervisor Cohen's district, and Terraville Street in Supervisor Tang's district. I'd also like to thank our 2010 and 2012 World Series champion, the San Francisco Giants, along with CEO Larry Baer and even guys like Hunter Pence, for giving back to the city and helping clean up our neighborhoods through the Giants Sweep campaign last year. Thank you, Giants. And in 2013, we brought free Wi-Fi to Market Street. We announced a partnership with Google, thanks to Supervisor Farrell, to bring free Wi-Fi to 31 of our city's parks and playgrounds. And in 2014, we'll continue to connect our residents to the cloud by bringing free Wi-Fi to several of our Invest in Neighborhood commercial corridors. And we'll continue to invest in the quiet engine of our job creation in San Francisco, our small businesses. With our new ADA assistance program, revolving loan program, our job squad, and our new online small business portal. And we must continue to support our city's thriving nonprofit organizations and workers. They provide vital frontline services to our neighborhoods and to our most vulnerable residents. And just like many of the clients on limited incomes, for many nonprofits and art organizations, it's tough to absorb an increase in rent. So I applaud Supervisor Kim and President Chu for their work on this subject, and I look forward to working closely with them to find consensus around practical solutions. In 2013, President Chu authored groundbreaking legislation that I was proud to sign that placed San Francisco at the forefront of guaranteeing a more family-friendly workplace. Well, this year, our city can be at the national forefront once again by raising the minimum wage. Folks, how many of us can get by in this town on a current minimum wage of $10.74 an hour? You know that, not possible. There's a growing consensus among liberals and conservatives alike that raising the minimum wage will help lift thousands of fellow residents out of poverty and keep people off public assistance, saving taxpayers millions of dollars. And so this November, with Supervisor Kim's leadership and others, let's make it a little easier for some of our residents, our hardworking residents, to get by in the city by placing on the ballot measure before the voters to raise minimum wage in San Francisco. And we'll approach it the way we've approached our other big challenges, like business tax reform and housing and transportation. We'll reach out to impacted sectors, small businesses, workers, experts, and others, and we'll seek consensus around a significant minimum wage increase for working families. We've already begun the dialogue, and I look forward to working with all of you. Let's get this done in 2014, my friends. And there's one more thing we must continue to guarantee for all of our people, and that's affordable, quality health care. In 2007, under Mayor Gavin Newsom, we became the first city in America to provide universal health care through Healthy San Francisco. Wonderful. And in 2013, thanks to the leadership of Leader Nancy Pelosi and President Obama, it finally came to the rest of the country through the Affordable Care Act. So I recently convened a Universal Health Care Council of health, business, labor, and community leaders to study the new national health laws, and as well as our own, to ensure that no one in San Francisco falls through the cracks. Not our seniors, not our workers, not our immigrants. Now it's all our job to make sure every person in our city is enrolled and insured through Covered California or Healthy San Francisco. And if we want our families to stay and grow here, if we want employers to stay and grow here, we must strive for the best public schools anywhere. I know that Supervisor Yee and the rest of the board share this value. I say best public schools anywhere because we're no longer competing with other cities in California anymore. For the jobs today and in the future, our students will have to compete with the rest of the world. And like all parents, I once had to decide where to send my children to school. I chose to send my daughters to the San Francisco Unified School District. Yes. And today I'm thrilled that every year more and more families are doing the same. And my friends, make no mistake, believe the hype. We're in the midst of a renaissance in our public schools. We have one of the top performing urban school districts in California and by any measure in the nation. In 2014, by partnering with the school district and with our flourishing private sector, we'll do even better to prepare our young people for their future. For example, look at the incredible contribution and support of our middle school leadership initiative by Mark and Lynn Benioff and the Salesforce.com Foundation. With the Benioff support, along with the support of our San Francisco technology companies and foundations, a lot of great teachers, we are helping middle schoolers focus on science, technology, engineering, arts, math, or STEAM, because we know that's what jobs of tomorrow will require. And today I'm pleased to announce that this year we'll expand my initiative to middle schoolers in all of our kindergartens through 8th grade schools, so that schools like Bessie Carmichael or Lawton, Paul Revere, and others will be part of that exciting initiative. Last year, we passed a budget with a record investment in our public schools. This year, we're going to surpass that. In 2014, I will propose to fund the school district at a level never seen before in San Francisco history. $66 million for our public schools, $27 million more for universal preschool. Yes. And now, along with our own historic investments and with Governor Brown's commitment to greater funding for schools proposed last week in his budget, San Francisco will be among the highest per student spending in the state of California. The highest. Thank you, Governor Brown. Thank you, Superintendent Carranza and members of the Board of Education. And I want to give a special thanks to board member Hydra Mendoza, who also happens to be my education advisor in the mayor's office. She's got passion. She's got thoughtful leadership on all of the education issues. Thank you, Hydra, for working with me. But when it comes to education and services for our young people, we're not done. This November, we will ask San Francisco voters to renew the Children's Fund and the Public Education Enrichments Fund. But we can't be satisfied with the status quo. So to all those parents and aspiring parents in our city, I say, we hear you. We are working with the school board, Superintendent Carranza, and with you to craft a long-term vision so that your investment today will lead directly to a world-class public school system, starting with universal preschool and continuing through college. College. Well, that means making City College continue with long overdue reforms and remain open and accredited today and for the future. I am 100% confident that we will not only save City College, we'll make it stronger and sustainable than ever. So please go ahead, enroll in City College. It's going to be there for you and for us. It's too important. You know, folks, I'm upset too at the Accreditation Commission's process and decision. But let's be frank, putting all of our focus on them is a distraction. City College was on a course of unsustainable financial and governance decisions. And just because we don't like the diagnosis doesn't mean we ignore the urgent need for treatment. But because of our work together and collaboration with a new, strong leadership team in place, City College is on the mend, already on the path of full recovery. Under the leadership of the new Chancellor, Art Tyler, and our Special Trustee, Bob Agrella, and with the full support of California Chancellor Bryce Harris, we're making tough decisions and applying long-term overdue reforms for long-term health of our institution. City College has earned the right to be taken off this cliff of uncertainty. And given the enormous improvements already made, I will ask the state of California to guarantee continued stable funding for City College in spite of the recent enrollment dips. I also call upon the Accreditation Commission to immediately lift the cloud that hangs over City College and our city's students' future. You know, a true affordability agenda for our city must also include having a great public transportation system, one that's safe, affordable, and reliable for everyone. More than ever, our aging fleet, our deteriorating roads, and our growing population demand that we make greater investments in our transportation infrastructure for the future. Now, we made some modest progress last year, and As a result, the street repaving bond passed by voters in 2011, and the leadership of Public Works Director Mohammed Nuru, we repaved a record 854 blocks, and our street conditions are slowly improving. Oh yeah, you like those roads. And under the leadership of Ed Riskin and board chair Tom Nolan, the San Francisco MTA added nearly 200 new and rehab buses to our fleet last year, with the goal of replacing the entire fleet in 5 years. And along with other cities in the region and our friends at the Bicycle Coalition, we launched Bay Area Bike Share, whose membership is growing monthly, demonstrating the strong demand and public support for expanding the program to other parts of our city in 2014 and beyond. And when it comes to having the transportation system of our that the residents deserve, we still have a ways to go. And so in 2013, with the leadership of President Chu and Supervisor Wiener, we convened all of the transportation experts and advocates for our Transportation 2030 Task Force, chaired by Gabe Metcalf, Director of SPUR, and Monique Zamuda, our Deputy City Controller. Their recommendations include investing in the core systems of Muni and our streets with a rehabilitated fleet, more vehicles, updated maintenance facilities, critical pedestrian and bike safety improvements, and repaving more of our crumbling streets. My friends, it's not a small price tag, $10.1 billion to improve core service, as well as meet the needs of our planned growth here and along the waterfront and in other parts of town. But they also gave us a roadmap to leverage federal, state, and local monies and fund our system in a responsible and more sustainable way, if only we show the resolve to finally tackle our long-term transportation challenges. And so in November, working with the Board of Supervisors, I will support the Transportation 2030 Task Force's 2 recommendations for 2014, bringing to the voters a $500 million general obligation transportation bond and a measure to increase the local vehicle license fee. Now, I recognize that asking voters to pay more for their vehicle license fee may be an uphill battle, especially at a time when the cost of living in our city is already so high. But the cost of ignoring Muni's problems, the cost of falling further behind in the conditions of our streets, the cost of jamming more people into an overcrowded and aging streetcars, that's far higher. And while we're at it, if we're finally going to take comprehensive approaches to funding Muni, let's tear off the Band-Aid we applied in more dire financial times that made our residents live a little more frustratingly and expensively. Yes, I'm talking about Sunday meters. Folks, it generated several $1 million last year, almost half of it from parking tickets, and boy, do I hear about it. Nobody likes it, not parents, not our neighborhood businesses, not me. So with a more sustainable approach to funding our transportation system, we can give our meters, our parking control officers, and most importantly, our families a rest on Sunday. And so today I call upon our San Francisco MTA Board of Directors to suspend Sunday meters in our city beginning this fiscal year. I'm grateful that Board Chair Tom Nolan has already signaled his support. Let's stop nickel and diming people at the meter, and let's work together to pass the transportation bond and vehicle license fee increase in 2014 instead. And there's one more thing we can do for our working families who rely on Muni, especially our low-income families. You know, last year, the MTA, at the urging of Supervisor Campos and many in the community, we began a pilot program to fund free Muni for low-income youth. Well, the results are in, and it's a big hit. Our kids need it. It's time to make it permanent. So I call upon the SFMTA to do just that in the next 2-year budget. And again, with a comprehensive funding strategy in place, we won't be robbing our maintenance dollars to pay for it. It's the right thing to do for our lower and middle income families to make this city a little more affordable. Affordability is also about having a city government that the taxpayers can afford. In the past 3 years, under the leadership of former budget chair and now our assessor recorder, Carmen Chu, and more recently under the leadership of budget chair Mark Farrell, we have for the first time adopted the 5-year financial plans, 2-year budgets, and made dramatic progress towards reducing our annual shortfalls and eliminating our structural deficits. Thanks to the wisdom of our voters, we're among just a handful of cities in the nation to confront unfunded pension and retiree health liabilities. Better times have returned, but we must not be tempted to stray from the path of fiscal discipline as we craft our next 2-year budget. We must be sure we are only investing in services and staffing that we can afford over the long term. And one of those fundamental responsibilities is ensuring public safety. In 2014, San Francisco remains one of the safest big cities in America. Thank you, Chief Sir, Chief Hayes White, Adult Probation Chief, Still, Juvenile Probation Nance, and of course, District Attorney George Gascon. Thank you for all of your great teamwork here. Two years ago, alongside Supervisor Cohen, our police department and with the partners in the community, we launched the IPO strategy: interrupt, predict, and organize. And we've seen remarkable results. Homicides are down 30% from last year, among the lowest in 40 years, with shootings half of what they were 10 years ago. But we can do better. We can do better. With new police and fire academies made possible by our economic recovery, we'll hire and train more first responders, from 911 dispatch operators to firefighters to police officers. So you'll see more officers walking the neighborhood beat, from Haight Street to 3rd Street to the Tenderloin and Central Market. And a big thank you to the men and women of our Police Officers and Firefighters Union for agreeing to a multi-year labor contract that allows us to move forward with these ambitious hiring plans. And let me say a few words about another public safety challenge for our city's streets. This past year grew at an alarming rate, and that's the safety of our pedestrians and bicyclists. This week I announced a renewed strategy to keep people safe, including stepped-up enforcement, especially against reckless drivers, better training for commercial drivers and those who drive the most, our Be Nice and Look Twice public education campaign, and improvements in places like Polk Street, South Van Ness, where we need urgent new physical improvements. It's another reason the transportation measures I discussed earlier are so important, so we can dramatically expand our segregated bike lanes and pedestrian build-outs. I support the goals of Vision Zero to eliminate traffic-related deaths in our city. But to get there, we'll need a little more common sense as well. For everyone, be more aware of your surroundings. Drivers, please slow down. And for darn sake, don't ever text and drive at the same time. San Francisco is one of the most pedestrian and bicycle-friendly cities in America. Let's work together in 2014 to make it the safest city in America for those activities as well. And there's another daily threat to our public safety in California: earthquakes. We don't know when it will strike, but someday it will, and it's up to us to make sure we've done all we can to prepare. And so in June, I will ask you to join me in supporting a $400 million earthquake safety emergency response general obligation bond. Part of our 10-year capital plan, this 2014 earthquake safety bond will fund critical seismic improvements to our fire and police stations, our emergency firefighting water system, and other core assets that our first responders will rely on to save lives and property, all without raising property taxes. It follows the important seismic improvements we've made already at Hetchy Water System, our general hospital, and key roads and bridges to make San Francisco the most resilient and seismically prepared city in California. And folks, you know, on a January day like this, you look around and kind of see this bone-dry winter. It reminds us of the threat of climate change is very real. And in fact, just an hour ago, our governor formally declared that we are in a drought in California. It's more important than ever to continue our global leadership on the environment. We'll do that by ensuring that our new housing and commercial office spaces are the greenest possible. Thanks to our green building laws, we've significantly reduced our greenhouse gas emissions, even as construction booms. I'm proud that San Francisco was ranked among the top energy efficient cities in the nation in 2013, number one in LEED Platinum and Gold commercial projects, and that our waste diversion rate continues to lead the nation. We're also national leaders in electric vehicle charging stations and the build-out of our EV infrastructure for the future. And we're helping homeowners and businesses become even more energy efficient by installing rooftop solar through Go Solar SF and through our recently announced PACE programs. And through our own Public Utilities Commission and Recreation and Parks Department, thank you, General Managers Harlan Kelly and Phil Ginsberg. We're investing in water recycling and greater water conservation for current and future droughts. Thank you for your leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, there's another public health and public safety and fundamentally human challenge in our streets, and that's too many people without a home. While we have the strongest social safety net in the nation, we still have far too many homeless people suffering on our streets and too many people unable to make the choices they need to save their own lives because of severe mental health and substance abuse problems. In the last 10 years, begun under the leadership of former Mayor Gavin Newsom, nearly 11,000 people have moved off our streets, thanks in part to thousands of units of supportive housing that we've built, where we continue to provide intensive services. And we've changed 11,000 lives for the better, including the lives of people like Todd Leachman, a single dad who's here with his daughter. Last year, Todd lost his job and became homeless. But now Todd is well on his way to self-sufficiency again after receiving move-in assistance and temporary rental subsidy through the Hamilton Family Center's First Avenues program. Todd is housed along with many other families thanks to programs that prevent at-risk families from becoming homeless through our Human Services Agency under the steady, great leadership of Director Trent Rohr. But we need to do more, and the proof is what we see on the streets every day. Too many people dealing with serious mental issues like schizophrenia, often self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. We won't turn our backs on them, but we do have to change how we help those who are clearly suffering and cannot really help themselves. For these folks, no matter how many times we offer them housing and services, they decline. It's not a lack of resources. No city spends more than we do, $2.7 billion every year on the social human safety net. Our Department of Public Health started the San Francisco Community Independence Placement Program 2 years ago. I've called it San Francisco's version of Laura's Law. And the results are in. It's working. Through this program, we are reducing hospital stays and jail time, increasing access to stabilizing services and treatment, and saving lives. Health experts estimate that there are hundreds of people who could immediately benefit from a stronger public conservatorship program encompassing mental health and substance abuse like this one. So in 2014, we must expand and make permanent this kind of strong public conservatorship program. First, I will ask the Board of Supervisors to adopt a required resolution allowing our city to fully move forward with our own community-based mental health program. Second, I will work with the Superior Courts to educate our judges about the positive benefits of this program. And third, and importantly, I will work with other mayors and a statewide coalition to propose changes to state law in Sacramento that will boost our local ability to implement a public conservatorship program that works. Folks, I know this will not come without controversy in our town, but I refuse to let people die on our streets any longer because we refuse to compel them to help themselves. And I'm grateful. I am grateful that City Attorney Dennis Herrera and Public Health Director Barbara Garcia and a growing number of mental health experts and homeless advocates have endorsed this new approach. This still is the city of St. Francis. And we have a moral obligation to help those who are chronically homeless because they simply do not have the capacity to make decisions that will save their own lives. But housing in San Francisco, especially in 2014, is not just a concern of those still on our streets. And that brings us back to where we are here today and why we are here today. This place, the Shipyard, which we see today at long last, is reclaimed and reborn from a foundry for ships to the crucible of a new community. Mayor Brown, we're finally realizing your vision here and honoring the commitment you made to this community and to the Southeast sector so many years ago. And thank you, Senator Feinstein and Leader Pelosi, for your unwavering support all these years for the revitalization of the Shipyard and for your leadership in winning $850 million over the last 2 decades for a thorough cleanup and a smooth transition from the Navy to our city. Around us, under construction before your very eyes, are hundreds and soon thousands of new homes, some of them 2- and 3-bedroom homes for families. More than 25% of them will be permanently affordable and on-site. And the rest will be priced according to the market, many fully in reach of our city's middle-class families. You heard me right, family housing with these views. Yes, family housing. And I know some of you have been looking around here saying, oh gosh, I never knew. Maybe this is where we ought to be. Well, with these views of the waterfront and our downtown skyline, all priced at market rate for middle-income families and individuals, and they're ready to be moved in as early as this summer. And on a clearer day, you can even see Willie Lewis Brown Jr. Bay Bridge right from your front porch. And while the 49ers will never play in Candlestick again, soon thousands of children will be playing there instead. And we'll replace the old stadium with thousands of new homes and parks for middle-class families beginning next year. The shortage of housing affordable to working and middle-income people is a problem we've let fester so long in this town that it's become a genuine crisis. It's a crisis that sparks genuine fear in too many longtime residents, worried that speculators looking to make a quick buck in a hot market will soon threaten them with eviction. It's a crisis that pushes young couples starting a family, pushing them out of town because once you have a kid, there's only so long that a 1-bedroom apartment's going to work. And it's a crisis that threatens to choke off our economic growth and prosperity for the future as companies move elsewhere because their employees simply can't afford to live here anymore. It's a crisis made all the more daunting because there are no easy solutions. And so too often, in frustration, some people turn to easy targets instead. A commuter shuttle bus, or a company's IPO, or even toast. Well, my fellow San Franciscans, what our housing crisis demands are real solutions and a shared vision, not easy slogans and scapegoating. Because let's be clear, we are all responsible. This is a crisis of our own making. For too long in San Francisco, we've tried to have it both ways. We want more money for affordable housing, but too often we oppose or scale back the very projects that generate those funds. We demand developers build more housing affordable for working people and middle-income families, but then we slow them down at every step, severely limit where and what they can build, and then express surprise when new market-rate housing is affordable only to the wealthy. A great example of these problems is the place we are standing right now. It took us too long. And some of us who decry our housing crisis were the same folks who opposed building these new homes and slowed their approval for years beyond just the pace of cleanup. You know, I know something about these issues. It's where I got started in politics some 35 years ago as an advocate for some of our city's poorest tenants. In 1977, Reverend Norman Fong and people like Gordon Chin, friends like Jeff and Sandy Moore, and so many others will remember, we stood together to stop the wrongful eviction of hundreds of our seniors and immigrants from the International Hotel. And one summer night, while the rest of the city slept, an army of riot police ordered by the courts, many on horseback, marched on the International Hotel. And in defiance, some 3,000 of us banded together and surrounded the building. We, of course, sang, "We Shall Overcome." Well, in the end, we only slowed the evictions. But it was the turning point for the Pan-Asian and tenant improvement movements in our city. Our resistance that night helped pave the way for the passage of rent control by the Board of Supervisors 2 years later. And all of these years later, as mayor, though I may be a little less angry, my passion for housing, making sure San Francisco is still a place where people of every background can call home, that still burns hot in me. And that's why housing is a central part of my economic plan. That's why in the first year of my full term as mayor, we worked together to place an affordable housing trust fund on the ballot, which the voters adopted to create a $1.5 billion stream of funding for affordable housing for low and middle income residents over the next 30 years. But I will be the first to say it's only a start. So today, I lay out an ambitious new challenge for our city by setting an aggressive goal to complete at least 30,000 new and rehabilitated homes by 2020. Additionally, my challenge is to ensure that at least 1/3 of those will be permanently affordable to low and moderate income families. And the majority of them will be within reach of working middle-income San Franciscans, our retail and service workers, our teachers and electricians, our home care workers, and our nurses. And today I'm announcing the 7 pillars of a plan to reach this ambitious goal, 7 principles around which we must rally all of our efforts and marshal all of our resources to ensure that we build these 30,000 homes and meet our affordability targets. First, let's protect our residents from eviction and displacement. We have some of the best, yes, we have some of the best tenant protections in the country, but unchecked real estate speculation threatens too many of our residents. So I've joined Senator Leno and Assemblyman Ting and President Chu, Supervisor Campos, and a diverse coalition of supporters, including business leaders, property owners, developers, to reform the Ellis Act in Sacramento. Second, we must stabilize and protect at-risk rent-controlled units. Rent control is still a core protection that allows many of our residents to remain in our city. Third, we must revitalize and rebuild our public housing. As I said last year, it's time to end the cycle of poverty housing in San Francisco. Supervisor Breed, who grew up in Plaza East, knows exactly what I'm talking about. In 2013, with new leadership at our housing authority and with the full support of the Obama administration and HUD Secretary Sean Donovan, we now have a set of recommendations to reform the way we provide safe, clean housing for our poorest residents. Thank you, City Administrator Naomi Kelly and members of the Housing Authority Commission. We are building on and expanding the principles of Hope SF, a plan that will transform 4 public housing sites into integrated mixed-income communities. We've already started with Hunters View, and next, in partnership with Lennar Urban, we'll begin in nearby Alice Griffith housing. Problems decades in the making won't be resolved overnight, but we're making progress. Last year, HUD rewarded our reform efforts with $6.5 million more for basic operations. And today, there are new maintenance mechanics at every property, 25% of these positions filled by residents themselves. Next week, I'll be traveling to Washington to ask HUD for even more flexibility on how we spend our limited federal dollars. This will allow us to leverage even more funds for our reimagined vision of public housing so we can rebuild 4,000 housing units by 2020. The 4th pillar of my agenda will double our down payment loan program, create more middle-income home ownership opportunities. Our city's middle class is deeply affected by the housing crunch. They make too much to qualify for a traditional affordable housing, but not enough to afford much of the new market rate construction. And so we must explore new public-private partnerships and launch a wave of innovative land use experiments to build thousands of new homes in reach of the middle class, including new incentives for more on-site inclusionary housing, land trusts, and use of our publicly owned lands. And today, I'm announcing an immediate expansion to double the amount of the city's down payment program, increasing assistance to first-time home buyers and below-market rate home buyers. Together, these acts can help more than 2,500 additional middle-income families buy a home in our city by 2020. Fifth pillar, we must build more affordable housing faster. We're already a national leader in the production of permanently affordable housing, but we need to build more of it and with fewer delays. In December, I signed an executive order directing our permitting agencies to prioritize affordable housing and affordable projects. If we continue these efforts, we can add as many as 4,000 new permanent affordable rentals by 2020. Sixth pillar, we must continue to build market rate units, especially rental units. The laws of supply and demand still apply, even in San Francisco. The more options for housing our residents have, the less difficult it becomes to find a home. In particular, by building in neighborhoods outside of the central core, like here in the Shipyard, nearby Candlestick or Park Merced, or at the old Slade Lock site in Visitation Valley, we'll dramatically expand the number of homes naturally affordable to middle-income families. And finally, we must make construction of new housing easier. To get tens of thousands of homes built faster, we need to reduce the obstacles that slow or even stop their construction. I know this one is especially clear to Supervisor Wiener. We need new ways to support neighborhood infrastructure through the reinvestment of property taxes or infrastructure financing districts. Well, some of you will look at this plan and say, but Ed, this will require us to do more than we've ever done before. And I say to them, exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to housing production, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect better results. We have to set aside the politics and traditional ideologies and instead work together in the service of real solutions for housing. So next month, I will once again convene housing experts who know this best, the developers, market rate and affordable, city departments, tenant and housing advocates, realtors, and property owners. I'll ask them to work with me and the Board of Supervisors to achieve the goal of 30,000 new and rehabilitated homes by 2020 and implement the 7 pillars of this housing plan. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we can do it because in the relatively short life of our city, we have faced and overcome even more daunting challenges. I'm not just talking about earthquakes and pandemics. From the gold rush to the building of our railroads, through wars and liberation movements, the AIDS crisis and the dot-com boom. The story of San Francisco is one of rapid spurts of growth. It's a story of new industries and movements that brought new waves of people, all seeking better life and opportunities that San Francisco, more than most places, has always represented. And over time, our growing city covered the hills. We grew west, south, turning cemeteries and sand dunes into neighborhoods like the Western Addition, the Richmond, and the Sunset. Today, we grow again in places like the Shipyard, the new Trans Bay District, or along our eastern waterfront in places like Mission Rock or Pier 70. And whether it was the Irish who came to pan for gold, the Chinese who came to work on the railroad, the Afro-Americans who came to work in the shipyards, Latinos who fled civil war at home in search of work, or gay, lesbian, and transgender people who came seeking freedom and self-expression, each new wave of newcomers has come with a degree of tension. But my fellow San Franciscans, our city has never been a postcard frozen in time. We have never been a city that closed our borders and slammed shut the door of opportunity to those who came here after us. And when we tried to keep people out or to demonize or stereotype a group of people, they have been the ugliest and most shameful chapters of our city's history. And so today, as our population once again grows in numbers and our skyline grows upwards, I call upon the quality and tenor of our civic discussion to grow up as well. My friends, keeping this city a place where everybody can live, whether you've been here for 60 years or 60 days, is the fundamental challenge of our time. But it is a challenge we must confront together. And as usual, it was Dr. King who said it best. We may have come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. It's a challenge we must confront by ensuring every San Franciscan who can work has a job. It's a challenge we confront by ensuring every San Franciscan can afford to stay here and raise a family. And it's a challenge we confront by improving our schools, our public transportation system, and keeping our streets safe. We are one city where we celebrate the success of all of our residents, and we all share in the responsibility to help those still left behind. It's that same city where thousands will turn out to cheer a little kid named Miles, who conquered cancer and then came to live out his superhero dreams as Bat Kid. And to newcomers, to the young people who have come here like so many generations before you to find new opportunities, I say, get involved. You are now part of this city and must be part of the solution. Acknowledge your impact and make it a good one. Understand that the homeless man you see sleeping in a doorway probably once thought he was invincible too, but then made mistakes or fell on hard times, and that you one day may also. Volunteer at your local school. Help clean up your local park. Respect the history and cultures of those who are here before you. Shop and eat in your neighborhood and break bread with your neighborhood, with your neighbors. Because it turns out San Francisco changes us more than any other group of newcomers will ever change San Francisco. It opens our eyes and our minds to new ideas, new ways of thinking, and that, my friends, is what makes this place so special and keeps us at the cutting edge of this century as much, if not more so, than the last. My fellow San Franciscans, we've come a great distance these past years, and there are still too many in our city we must lift up, and too many we must still help to ensure that they'll always be their city as well. Our work is far from done. Nelson Mandela taught the world a thing or two about bridging divides and bringing people together. And he reminded us that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. And we may take a moment to rest, look back at the distance we have come, but only for a moment. We have responsibilities. We dare not linger. Our long walk together is not ended. Let us go forward together in 2014. Let's keep the state of the city vital and strong and ensure that San Francisco remains a place where everyone can afford to call home. Thank you, and go Niners.